Hi everyone, and welcome to my tiny kitchen. My name is Jana, and I'm so excited to be baking with you today because it is one of my all-time favorite things to do. Anytime I have free time, I'm looking at recipes and figuring out what I can bake. So I'm glad that you're joining me, and we're going to be making peanut butter cookies with only 3 ingredients. Did you know you could make cookies with only 3 ingredients? I didn't know that until I was an adult, so if you're a kid watching this right now, you're way ahead of me. Before we get started, I just want to show you the things that we are going to need. I know your parents got a list of all the things, but just so we know what we're dealing with, I'm going to go through them with you. So here are our 3 ingredients: 1 egg, peanut butter, and sugar. And guess what? To make this recipe even easier, we only need one thing to measure them with, and that's this, a 1 cup measuring cup. So your measuring cup might look a little bit differently than mine, and that's okay. But you will need something to measure that is 1 cup. Then you'll need a mixing bowl so that we can stir everything up together to actually make our cookie dough. And I like to stir my cookie dough with a wooden spoon, but you can use whatever kind of utensil you want. If your spoon is metal, that's fine. If you're using something more like a spatula, that's okay too, but I would suggest using a spoon rather than a fork or some kind of whisk, because our cookie dough is going to be pretty thick. After we're done mixing our dough, we will need a cookie sheet, which I have right here waiting. So something like this that can go in the oven, and then a spatula so that we can get the cookies off the cookie sheet. Now, there are a couple other things that are helpful that I don't think I put on my list, but if you don't have them, it's okay. So the first thing is another little bowl like this is nice to have because we're going to be rolling our cookie dough in some sugar. So we're not going to be able to put it in our mixing bowl because that's where our dough will be. So it doesn't have to be a very big bowl, and if it ends up being a plate, that's okay too. Just something to put a little bit of extra sugar in or on so that we can roll our cookie dough balls in it. The next thing that is helpful but not necessary is something to scoop up your cookie dough with. So you can use your hands. You can. But I have this pretty fancy scoop that I'm pretty sure I got for Christmas one year from someone in my family who knows I love baking. And it has a little spring in it that helps me scoop up the cookie dough and drop it onto the cookie sheet. So if you have one of these, you can use it. If you don't, then maybe a spoon like the one you eat cereal with, that will also work. And like I said, you can also use your hands, so that's okay. The other thing that I like to use when I bake that helps me when I'm cleaning up is called parchment paper. And it comes in a roll, and it looks like this, nice and crinkly and fun. And you put that on top of your cookie sheet so that your cookies don't stick and so that it's easy to clean up. But if you don't have that, it's okay too. Now that we have everything gathered and are ready to go, the first thing I do before I bake anything is wash my hands. So conveniently, my sink is right here. So I'm going to do that really quickly, and you can do it too. The second thing that I like to do is put on an apron. Now, if you don't have an apron, it's definitely not necessary, and a lot of the time I forget to wear one. But it's fun because it makes me feel a little bit more professional, and I don't have to worry about spilling on my clothes. So if you have an apron, go ahead and put it on. If not, that's okay too. Now we're ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is crack this egg. So I like to crack my eggs on the countertop so that I get a really nice clean line all the way around. So you should just be able to hit it once, not too hard, but hard enough to make a crack. So I have this little crack here, and I'm just gonna stick my thumb in it and open it up and put that egg in my bowl, just like that. The other thing that's nice about an apron is when it gets up on my fingers, I can wipe it on my apron. Okay, after that egg is in there, I want to mix it up so that the yolk is all broken and the whole egg is mixed and it looks like a beautiful yellowy syrup. After that's done, we can measure our sugar. So we take our 1 cup measure, open up our sugar, scoop it out, and then we want it to be as even as possible with the top. So you can shake it like this to make it even until it's pretty close. Sometimes I have a knife too, and I, with the dull side down, whoosh, right over top. However you decide to do it, we're going to put that into our mixture. And then we're going to mix that up. So you can see that it's getting a little bit thicker and very nice yellow color. Color that I might want to paint my bedroom someday. Okay. After that's all mixed up, we have to measure out our peanut butter. So sometimes this is the part that gets messy because we need to get peanut butter from here measured into here. So we don't want to use our spoon that we've been mixing egg and sugar with, because when we want toast with peanut butter on it, we don't want any of this in our peanut butter. So if you have a spoon like you eat cereal with, I find that that's a good way to measure. So take just a glob out of there, put it into our measuring cup, and repeat until we have our full measuring cup. Okay, that looks about right. I usually like to scrape the sides. Sometimes I use my finger like a little spatula and try to get every last bit of peanut butter off the spoon. And then sometimes I like it because I love peanut butter so much. But I won't do that in front of you. Okay, so this is our last ingredient, and because we won't be using this 1 cup measure again, we can use this spoon that we've been stirring our egg and sugar with to get the peanut butter out. So let's go ahead and do that. And we want to make sure we get as much as possible because the peanut butter is the part that gives us all the cookies flavor. Okay, so once we have that, we have to stir this very carefully because we don't want sugar and egg to go everywhere. So if your bowl's big enough, that's good. Stir, stir, stir. Sometimes it helps while you're stirring to stop and kind of scrape the edge of the bowl around so that you get all the ingredients mixed up together. You know, as I'm doing this, I'm wondering if I remembered to tell you why we might need a fork. And I don't think I did. So, we might need a fork. I'm telling you now, because I forgot. We will need a fork. So, that comes along in just a minute. Okay, once everything's mixed up, here's what it's going to look like. And it smells delicious, like peanut butter, plus some other stuff. So, it's pretty sticky, don't worry. You know what else we forgot to do? And I always forget to do this, always, is turn on the oven. Here's the oven. It should be at 350 degrees. and you might need an adult's help with that. So if you do, go get them now and turn on the oven, because that has to be warm before we can bake anything. But I always forget. When I was a kid, I would always forget to turn on the oven, and then I would be all ready with my beautiful cookies or pie or cake or whatever I was making, all ready to put it in the oven. And then, of course, I couldn't bake anything if the oven wasn't on. So I'd have to wait for the oven to warm up before I could put it in. But thankfully we have a few more steps. So turn your oven on to 350 degrees, and then we'll do the next steps. So we're going to take our little bowl that we have for extra sugar and put some extra sugar in it. Now, I'm going to just dump a little bit in there. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you think maybe your mom wouldn't like it, then you can get a spoon or another measuring cup that is clean and just put a little bit in there. You're not going to need a lot because we're just coating the outside. So I'm going to show you. It's going to be kind of hard to see because this bowl is white and sugar is white, but it only comes up to about here. So I think I only have about this much sugar in this bowl, and I won't even use it all. So that's one thing you need. I'm going to use this fancy scoop, but I will show you a couple different ways to do it. And we need our cookie sheet now. And of course our dough, cookie dough. And if you don't have a fancy scoop like I do, that's okay. You can use a spoon, like the one you eat cereal with, or you can use your fingers. So if you're using a spoon, like a cereal spoon, you can just take some dough, use about that much, and then we're going to have to use our hand. So this is one of the reasons why we wash our hand. Take it between your palms and make it into a little ball, like so. Okay, it's going to be pretty sticky, so you don't want to hang on to it for a very long time. After you've rolled it into a ball, you're going to dump it into your sugar bowl and just roll it around, just like this, so that you can see it all glittery with sugar. Okay? So, after that, we can put it right on our cookie sheet. If you have parchment paper and you want to use it, here's what you do. You just have to take some out of its roll, and they usually have a great little cutter in there, and you can measure it against your cookie sheet. It's okay if it's a little bit bigger, which mine is going to be. And then put it right on there. And once you have your cookie dough on there, it will help hold it down. So we're going to, I think my cookie sheet can fit about 8 cookie dough balls on there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm switching to my fancy scoop just because it's fun, not because I have to. And then, so scoop some more, roll it between your palms into a nice ball, put it in the sugar, roll it around so the whole thing is nice and covered, and it looks like it's covered in glitter. And you can put it not too close to the next one, but probably a couple inches away. So the last step that we have to do before we put these in the oven, and of course we're going to fill our cookie sheet so that we can cook as many cookies at a time as possible. I'm going to see if I can get closer to do this for you. Here's what we're going to do. Take my fork, and these things right here, they're called tines. We're going to use the tines of the fork to imprint a design into our peanut butter cookies. This is so fun. So I'm going to make an X in my cookie. So I'm going to have to push it down with the tines of my fork one way, and then cross over and push it down the other way. See that design? Pretty cool, huh? So after we make every ball and roll it in sugar and put it on our cookie sheet, we're going to make that design into our cookie dough balls. Just an X with the tines of your fork for every single cookie. Okay, now that you know the steps, go ahead and fill up your cookie sheet. Depending on how big it is, you might be able to fit more. If it's smaller than mine, you might be able to fit less. So just do as many as you can, but don't crowd them because, you know, they don't like that. Okay, once you have all of your cookies on your cookie sheet with those cool X designs from the tines of the fork in there, you can put them in the oven as long as your oven's warmed up. I think mine is by now because this took some time. So I'm going to put these in the oven and then I'm going to set a timer. And I'm going to set my timer for 18 minutes. So this is what my timer looks like. You might have one with digital numbers on it. So 18 minutes. Usually when I'm baking and I have this much time, I like to read some of my favorite books. But make sure you wash your hands again first, because I don't know about you, but I have cookie dough and sugar all over them. So in 18 minutes, I'll see you back. It's time. Let's check the cookies. I'm going to put this book in a safe place so I don't get it dirty. In case you're wondering what it is, it's called the library, one of my favorite places. Okay, now anything coming out of the oven is going to be very, very, very hot. So you might also need an adult's help for this, and I suggest you go get them now before our cookies burn. So one of the things that I use is an oven mitt so that I don't burn myself when I'm taking things out of the oven. Because right now, it's 350 degrees in there, which is very hot. So here comes the squeak, because my oven door is squeaky. And I want you to take a look at these. Woo! They are very hot, so I'm not going to touch them with my bare hand. But they look and smell delicious, and I hope yours do too. So here's one thing I just want to show you. How to know when they're done. So here I have it on my spatula so you can look at it a little bit more closely. You can't really tell from the top because they're brown already. So if I carefully flip it over, I can look at the bottom. See how it's darker there? That means it's done. So you can leave them on the cookie sheet to cool. If you have a wire rack, something that looks a little bit like this, where I have all of my supplies right now, you can put them on there to help them cool carefully by taking your spatula. The cookies are going to be a little bit slippery, so beware. And scooping it up onto the spatula and then putting it back down on the wire rack. Now, I love eating cookies when they're warm. I do. But I will tell you a secret about these cookies. They actually taste better after they're cooled. So if you can wait that long, it will be worth it. If you want to try one when they're still warm, that's okay too. But you have to let them cool for at least 2 minutes before you try to eat it, because otherwise you'll burn your mouth. And I'm speaking from experience here. So, your choice, whether you leave them on the cookie sheet to let them cool down a little bit, or if you take them off and put them either on a wire rack like this, or if you have a wooden surface like this on your countertop, you can put them straight on your counter and let them cool that way. But you do need to let them cool. So I still have some cookie dough left here in my bowl, and I'm assuming that you probably do too, unless you have a giant cookie sheet. So the same thing that we did before, putting them on the cookie sheet, we can do again. Now, if you're using the same cookie sheet, you have to be very careful because that's going to be hot for much longer. So I actually have 2 cookie sheets. So when I'm ready to put the rest of my dough in the oven, after I shape it into balls and roll it in the sugar and put my cool design on top, then that will be ready to go into the oven. If you use the same cookie sheet, that's okay, you can, but make sure you let it cool for a couple of minutes and still handle it very carefully. And your cookies will probably not take quite 18 minutes to cook because they'll start cooking right when they hit the surface of that cookie sheet that's a little bit warm. So that is what you need to do to finish up your cookie sheet, your cookies, and then by the time you're done putting this next batch on your new cookie sheet, the other ones will be ready to eat, I promise. Once all my baking is done and I've washed all of my dishes, I hang up my apron and I like to enjoy what I just made. So there are a couple ways that you can enjoy these cookies. One way is with a glass of milk and a plate of cookies. But my personal favorite, especially when it's maybe, a special day or really hot out, or I just want to do something a little bit more fun than just milk and cookies, I'll make myself an ice cream sandwich. And yesterday was my mom's birthday, so I'm saying that this is in honor of my mom. Thanks for joining me. I hope your cookies turned out well. And next time you see me, tell me how it went. See you soon.